You ever wonder what it really takes to get a machine learning model out of the lab and into the real world, where it has to work, day in and day out? Well, it's not magic, that's for sure. It's a discipline called MLOps, and today we're going to break down how it acts as the powerful engine driving modern AI. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to unpack what's known as the endless loop of the machine learning lifecycle. Then, we'll see how MLOps jumps in as the central controller, how it automates the chaos, builds in rock-solid reliability, and keeps those models healthy out in the wild. And you'll definitely want to stick around because at the end, we'll get into the massive advantage this gives any team working with AI.
All right, to really get why MLOps is such a game changer, we first have to wrap our heads around the process it was designed to manage, the machine learning lifecycle.
At its core, it's really just a loop that never stops. You start with data, you use that data to train a model, and then you deploy that model. But here's the key, it doesn't end there. That deployed model creates new data, which feeds back into the system, and the whole cycle kicks off all over again.
And that right there, that is the million-dollar question. When you're trying to do this at scale, with multiple teams, with constant updates, how on earth do you keep all these moving parts from just collapsing into a chaotic, unmanageable mess?
Well, that's exactly where MLOps comes into the picture. You can think of it as the central nervous system for this entire complex operation. And that glue analogy is perfect. In the real world, MLOps is what connects all the pieces. It links your data and your training to essential practices like CI/CD pipelines, version control, and performance monitoring. It turns all these separate stages into one single, cohesive system that actually works. Okay, this is a super important point. MLOps is not a piece of software you can just go out and buy. It's a discipline. It's a set of engineering practices that bring structure, automation, and real reliability to that whole machine learning lifecycle we just talked about. So how does MLOps actually pull this off? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is one word: automation. Let's dig into how it transforms the process by getting rid of all that tedious manual work. I mean, think about it. Every single time a person has to manually intervene in a process, to copy a file, to click a button, there's a chance for a mistake, and it's always a slowdown. By automating these steps, MLOps not only speeds things up, but makes the whole thing way more reliable by just taking human error out of the equation. And we're not talking about some vague, high-level concept here. This automation targets very specific, very critical stages. MLOps can take over the development pipeline, automatically package the model so it's ready to go, and then seamlessly push it out into production. What used to be a bunch of clunky, manual handoffs becomes one smooth, fluid workflow. Okay, so automation is great for making things fast, but, speed is pretty useless if you can't trust the results. That's why MLOps also focuses on building in the guardrails that make your models consistent and totally reliable. And this is a huge deal. MLOps guarantees that the model you spent all that time testing in a development environment is the exact same model that ends up running in production. No weird surprises, no inconsistencies. That's absolutely fundamental if you want to trust your system. So how does it do this? By using a core practice from software development, version control. MLOps applies this to everything, not just the model's code, but also to the data it was trained on. This gives you a complete audit trail. And it provides this incredible safety net. If a new model starts underperforming for some reason, you can instantly roll back to the last version that you know worked perfectly. Okay, so we've got an automated and reliable pipeline. But the job isn't done just because the model is built. Now we get to the really critical part, getting it out into the real world, and, just as important, keeping it healthy. This is where that continuous part really comes to life. With a solid MLOps setup, a new, improved model can be automatically tested, validated, and pushed live the second it's ready. You're not waiting around for some manual deployment window. This means improvements can get to your users faster than ever. And once that model is live, MLOps basically becomes its full-time doctor, constantly checking its vital signs. It watches how the model is performing in the real world so you can catch any issues or dips in performance long before they become a major problem. So what kind of vital signs are we talking about? Well, it's constantly tracking key metrics. Is the model's accuracy still as high as it was in testing? Is it responding quickly enough to be useful? By keeping an eye on things like this, MLOps acts as an early warning system, making sure the model keeps delivering value and doesn't just silently get worse over time. All right, we've walked through the whole process. So what's the bottom line here? What's the actual real-world advantage of putting all this MLOps infrastructure into place? Why does this all matter? It really just boils down to this transformation. I mean, look at this. It's a night and day difference. Before MLOps, getting machine learning into production was often this slow, manual, inconsistent process. Frankly, it was error-prone. After MLOps, it becomes a true engineering discipline. It's automated, it's fast, it's consistent, and it's reliable.
And this leaves us with one final, really important thought. As AI gets more and more woven into the fabric of critical business operations, maybe we need to stop thinking about MLOps as just a best practice, something that's nice to have. You have to ask yourself, has it actually become an absolute business necessity for any company that wants to be serious about machine learning?